everybody, it's Heather from Here She Grows, and today I want to show you how to make a very inexpensive and very beautiful wooden bead garland for your Christmas tree. So I made one up first to show you what I've been working on and give you an idea of how it can look. And it really, how you thread your beads on the twine really depends. It's just personal preference, what you like. This is what I did. So you get a better idea. So I use my things for a really long time. So the garland that I have on my tree currently is 21 years old. So I like to really get the most from anything I buy. But I realized last year that the garland had really, it was done. So I saw wooden bead garland. I think it was at Target, and it was just for a 6-foot length. It was probably about $32, and I couldn't afford that because I need a heck of a lot more than 6 feet to wrap around my Christmas tree. So this year I decided I was going to make my own garland and do it on the cheap, but make it look just as good as something that you would have found at a big box store or Target or wherever, or online. And just so you know, these strands of beads are available on Etsy, and for the length that I made a 20-foot length, and I'm going to link everything at the bottom of this video as well, so you know where I got everything. But I wanted to string one strand completely to see how long the garland would be just from this one kit of wooden beads. And I ended up getting 20 feet. So if you were to buy a 20-foot length of wooden bead garland on, say, Etsy, it's going to cost you over $100. Who's got $100 to spring for a wooden bead garland, right? You're going to go broke. So this kit, when I strung it up, came out to about 20 feet of wooden bead garland, and it was perfect. And the kit I found on Amazon, it's not really a kit, it's just an assortment of different size beads. And I ended up coming out with 20 feet of length for $18 and change. So that's a heck of a difference compared to the probably over $100 you would spend on the same length. So let's get started, and I'll show you what I did. You only need a few things, and it's super easy, and it comes together super quick. So I would suggest on a night when you don't have a lot going on, just set yourself up in front of the TV or put some music on, grab a glass of wine, and start stringing. And it's extremely therapeutic too. So it's pretty fun to do, and you end up getting a really beautiful result for very little money. And I'm all about that. So let me show you what the kit looks like. So I keep calling it a kit, but it's really not a kit. It's just an assortment of different size beads. And they come like this. Every bead, every size is in its own bag. So there's 4 sizes here. And I believe they're 20 millimeters, 16 millimeters, 12 millimeters, and maybe 10 or 8 millimeter size beads. So you just need to order, all you want is a 20-foot length, you just need to order one set of beads from this company, and the link is below. Then you're going to need where is it? Got it. A roll of twine. You can find this at any craft store. I happen to buy this at Walmart, and let's see what gauge. It says it's a 2-ply plus number 20. So I'm assuming these come in different gauges. This worked perfectly for this particular set of beads that I used. So it's like, gosh, there's a lot on here. You should have plenty. And then you need a pair of scissors, some tape, and some bowls to set all your beads into, so you can kind of go through and make whatever pattern you want, and makes it a lot easier. But I would suggest, before you order any beads, if you want to make the garland for your tree, you're going to need to know how much garland you want. So that'll determine how many sets of beads you should order. I suggest taking your twine and wrapping it around your Christmas tree and spacing it however you would like the garland to be spaced on the tree, to get a feel for how much you're going to need. And then once you wrap it the way you like it, take the twine off and measure from the beginning to the end, so you know how many yards you're going to need to make your bead garland. And like I said, this bead garland, one set makes about 20 feet. So what's that? 3, 6, 9, 15, 18. It's about 6 and 2/3 feet of whatever that is. 6 yards rather of over 6 yards of garland. So first, that should be the first thing you do to get the amount that you need. And then your pattern preference, how you put these beads on the strand, really is up to you. So I just prefer to do it like this, so I get kind of a varying, it just fades in and out in size. So after you've got your beads set up in your bowls and placed kind of in the order that you want to thread your beads, and they can be anyway, they can be completely random, or you can have them in a pattern like I do. It's entirely up to you. You're going to want to put a little bit of tape. So just take a small amount of tape and wrap it around the end of your twine, because it just makes it easier to fish through the beads, especially on the smaller ones. The smallest beads are super tiny, and taping it a little bit prevents this from fraying, and it slides through much faster. So that just quickens things. And then I think you should just, what I did is I didn't cut the length off of my, I didn't cut a length of twine from the spool. I just kind of pulled it out as I needed it. And then once I got it to the length, once I had the bead strung to the length that I wanted it to be, then I'll cut it off. So I just went through and staying with this pattern, show you how I strung them through. So for this pattern, I started with my smallest beads first, and those are 10 millimeter beads. So in this particular set, you'll get 300 of the 10 millimeter, 200 of the 12 millimeter, 100 of the 16 millimeter, and 100 of the 20 millimeter. And to get this pattern, I started with my 10 millimeter ones, and I put 10 on, and then I worked down and went to my 12 millimeter ones, and I did 2 of those. So I got the 10 millimeter on, 10 of those, and then 2 of the 12s, and then 1 of the 16, and then I did 2 of the 20s. And these are the biggest ones in this set, 2 of the 20s. And then I worked my way back down again, so that then I did 1 of the 16s. And this one's a little difficult to get on. Some of them are a little harder to push through than others, so then I just switch it up and go with the easier ones. Then 2 of the 12s, 1, 2, and then again 10 of the little guys. And just fish those through, and I won't bore you with fishing 10 of these little ones through, but you get the picture if you're interested in this particular pattern. And you end up with this kind of repeat all the way through. So whenever you get to the length, whenever you're finished with this, and I'm not finished with this strand, but to tie it off, I like to leave a loop at the end. So you're going to leave a loop, to make this loop, and you're simply just going to make a knot. Tie it around your finger, pull it through. Hold on a second. I don't want to completely knot this just yet because I'm not finished with it, but and then you would just pull it through to make your knot like that. Very easy to do. So you can just keep going until you have enough. And maybe you don't want this for your tree. Maybe you want it to do as a garland around some windows or on your mantle, or just a strand of beads on your table, which I think is really pretty too. So really simple project, guys. And you can make it you can do the pattern however you want. This is just what appealed to me. And I'll finish up this length and show you what it looks like when we're finished. Okay, so when you follow this pattern, this is what you will end up with. And I like to make my ends identical. So I started with 10 of the smallest beads on the first end, on the beginning of this strand, and then I'm going to end with that. So then once I've reached my length, I'm just going to tie it off like I showed you a moment ago. Make the loop, and then you're just going to wrap it around your finger. And now you've got a strand that can be strung all the way around your tree. And so much cheaper. So if I were to do, I've done 2 strands so far. So I'm looking at about $40 for 2 strands. If I were to do or buy 2 20-foot lengths on Etsy right now, each strand would cost me about $110, and that's not including shipping. So I'm looking at $220 for 2 20-foot lengths, and I don't have money for that. So I did it myself for $40, and I think it's really beautiful, and it's something worth doing. It makes your tree look so, I like the homemade look, and I like things more subtle than having a ton of ribbons and bows, and it's really pretty, of course, but it's just not my style. I'm more of the homemade wooden bead kind of girl. So I hope this helps, and you end up making a beautiful garland of your own. And and I should mention that when I follow this sequence, I'm left with there'll be several beads left over. So then I'm just going to make a very random strand as well, because I think putting something in that doesn't match the rest of the garland in the tree is also interesting. So I'll also have kind of a mismatched strand of beads as well. Okay, so I've used up all the beads, and I ended up with about just over 8.5 yards of garland. So I had one length, 20-foot length, and I did this pattern. That was the first pattern I showed you. And I didn't have enough beads to continue that pattern in another length of garland. So I just did another random pattern and made another length, and this way, just to use up all the beads, because I just wanted to give you an idea of about how much you would have to order based on the amount of garland you would need. So just one order of this particular set of beads is going to give you just over 8.5 yards of garland. So I hope this helps. All the links are below, and it's a very simple thing to do. You just need a few tools. Plop yourself in front of the TV for a few hours, and you've got yourself some homemade, beautiful wooden bead garland. And if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, like it, and follow me on Instagram. I would really appreciate it. And Merry Christmas, everybody.